Welcome to the Families of Character Show. I'm your host, Jordan Langdon, and as a wife, mom, and licensed clinical social worker, you get practical parenting stories, research-based parenting solutions, and most of all, support. Lean in and let yourself be inspired and reminded of the gifts you have as a parent. Let's jump right in. Who wants to go from after-school meltdown to after-school mellow instead? Okay, you all may know by now that I homeschool my kids, but there was a time when they went to brick and mortar schools, and I remember well what those days were like. They'd be pretty happy-go-lucky in the morning, knowing they were going to get to see their friends and be the line leader or get some special assignment in their sweet little classroom. But then, by the time they got home in the afternoon, miserable, lashing out at me for no apparent reason, fighting with their siblings. The teachers couldn't really pinpoint any real issue that was happening consistently at school that would have contributed to this. And in fact, they reported my kids did perfectly fine in school all day. And they were actually really surprised at what I told them was happening when they got home from school. Here's what we realized. Going to school can be completely exhausting for many kids, physically, emotionally, and mentally. Just think about it. Our young kids are waking up at 6 or 6:30 or 7. They move right into eating breakfast and getting dressed for school, packing their backpack, maybe even a lunch, jumping in the car to take a ride to school, and then transitioning from home into the school building where they're seeing all new people and different adults and lots of kids. And then they get into their classroom and they expend a lot of energy sitting still and focusing in class. They've got class rules to follow and work to complete and various duties that they're required to fulfill. And depending on the school that they go to, many of them lack sufficient time to play and run and regroup throughout the day. And by the time they get home from school, they are quick to fall apart and melt down. No wonder. I would be too. Listen, every parent I've ever coached that has had this same issue with their kids melting down in the afternoons after school, they come to the exact same realization. And it's kind of upsetting for them. They say, man, it just seems like my kid saves their most difficult behavior for me. Well, guys, psychologically speaking, there's a reason for this. It's because they trust you to help them through those difficult moments and to love them through those unconditionally. That's why people often just tell you, I don't know what you're talking about. They're perfectly behaved when they're at my house or in my classroom. Listen, there's some good news in all of this. Here it is. We can make simple, practical changes in the afternoon routine to help kids cope with those overwhelming feelings that creep in once the day is done. And here's how you can do it. There's 7 tips to help you go from meltdown to mellow. Tip number 1, a simple greeting and a hug or a high five is a great way to connect and provide emotional space from the school day. Saying something positive, just like, I'm so happy to see you. That's a great after-school greeting that tends to set the tone in a positive way for the rest of the day. Tip number 2, avoid peppering them with questions. I know it's tempting, right? They get in your car, you haven't seen them all day, and you want to know. But don't pepper them with questions. Instead of asking about what they learned during the day, how much homework needs to get done, which friends they've played with, all the things, just let them decompress and tune out a little bit on the drive home. Have a screen-free ride home where they're allowed to just gaze out the window and relax. Be present and not preoccupied so they see that you are decompressing too. Kids do what we do. So be a great model and also have a quiet ride home. Number 3, make snacks a priority. I mean, what kid isn't ready for a snack when they leave school? A hangry kid is absolutely on their way to a bigger meltdown. So get ahead of the hunger crash by planning those after school snacks in advance. Many times we think about feeding our kids like snack foods, and they might be crackers or chips or cookies. But I've done some research, and experts are suggesting that we offer meal foods at snack time. So think about what they had for breakfast or what they probably had for lunch, and think about filling in the gaps from those 5 food group meals, that they're supposed to have. And if they're missing out on fruits and veggies or grains or, protein, think about giving them a bagel with some nut butter on it, or some, nuts or yogurts or lean meats like turkey or chicken. Think about trying to fill in those gaps of those meals that they've eaten previously instead of the sugary carbs we tend to throw at them after school. Okay, next tip. Tip number 4, prioritize downtime for your kids after school. I can't stress this enough. Kids need time to just play, hang out, create something on their own terms. When we overschedule our kids and they're running from school to sports to music lessons to bed, unstructured time goes out the window, and that has a lot of negative consequences for kids. Even if this means maybe you drop one of their after-school activities, I recommend it. Kids need time to be bored and have downtime in their day. After-school routines should include some amount of time for kids to really unwind and engage in free play. Another tip, play together with your kids. I often recommend playing a board game or a super simple card game that takes just 3 minutes, like Uno or Slapjack, with your kids right after school. This helps ease kids out of the overwhelming feelings that the end of the day brings and into a calmer state of mind. Going from that crazed, school mindset to the mellow. It helps them transition from their school life to home life with greater ease when we play a simple game that is short and fun for everyone. Another tip, be present. I can't stress this enough. In episode 62, titled Best Practices for a Smooth Transition Back to School, I talked about the 9 most important minutes of a child's day when they are attending a brick and mortar school Monday through Friday. They're in 3 different increments. 3 minutes in the morning when they wake up, the first 3 minutes they see you when they are out of school, and then the last 3 minutes of the day. The essence of that episode was to really dial up the intentional time you spend with your kids in those minutes and to be fully present and aware in the moment. As parents, we often worry about the impact of screen time on the developing brain of our kids, but we forget about the negative impact our own screen time use has on the relationship with our kids. So make a commitment to put your phone down and attend to your child. Kids are smart. They sniff us out, man. If they sense that we are disconnected, they will retreat. So I can't stress it enough. Put your phones down, even your computer, right? When your kids get home from school, and give yourself a forced break too. You deserve that, to have some boundaries around your work and things like scrolling the socials. Another tip, create a set homework routine. Prevent those gnarly homework feuds by setting up a clutter-free spot to work, and then try to do the homework at the same time each day. Kids love knowing what to expect. They love consistency. consider having them work on their homework while you get dinner ready so that you can be kind of available here and there to help them. And if your child is really struggling, put the books back in the backpack and just email the teacher. Because let's face it, kids are under a lot of pressure today. Sometimes we put them in school as early as 18 months old or so, and they end up spending more hours a day at school than we do at work. And without multiple breaks in their day to get outside and move their bodies and release some steam, they melt down. It's no wonder. So give them some grace and decide on how you are going to change your after-school routine so you can offer them a place to decompress and wind down, refuel with a good snack, engage in creative play, and have some focused, screen-free time with you each afternoon, even if it's only for 5 to 10 minutes. Homework will become less of a fight, and they will have positive memories of their afternoons at home with you going forward. Parents, from meltdown to mellow, I hope these 7 tips will help you this year. You know, Families of Character has a great tool that's screen-free for your kids. It's a kids journal titled The Best Me I Can Be. So head on over to our shop at familiesofcharacter.com and grab a copy of the journal for your child today. It's a great activity you can do together each evening to bond and also build up their confidence and their courage and help them understand the gifts they have as a kid. Also, if you want to join our online parent community, join our Facebook group called the Thrive Community by Families of Character. And stay tuned. We've got some coaching brewing back here, and it's going to be rolling out real soon. So parents, you've got this. Help prevent those after-school meltdowns with some minor adjustments to your kids' after-school routine. Jordan Langdon signing off. I'll catch you on another episode of the Families of Character Show.